So our team wants to know, and our community wants to know more about the two of you and what you're building, and then maybe we can go into the backstory. But first, they accepted a challenge to a game of Jenga. So the way that this works is we'll be chatting and playing Jenga at the same time. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to go first?
You first.
So we're playing as
we're playing and we're talking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pick the middle one for sure.
And depending how quick the game goes, we can do best 2 out of 3.
Okay. I feel that. I feel like I really love Jenga.
Yeah.
Testing my multitasking.
Yeah. I know, right?
Do you want to start by telling everyone about ZEITG3IST?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Victoria.
And I'm Lena. So basically, ZEITG3IST is a boutique strategy agency based out of New York. We focus on Web3 gaming and entertainment brands, and we've had the privilege of working with over 15 companies now across the space. To give you insight to my background, I've worked in the marketing space for the last 8 years. I originally came from luxury fashion. I've worked across a multitude of different industries, including fashion, obviously tech, media, oil and gas.
Oh,
yes, for all that.
Oil and gas.
Yeah, from a social media perspective and so forth, and the consulting side of things. And yeah, we've really just hit the ground running in the last few years since Victoria has joined me. And yeah, we now have a 10-person team. So.
Wow, that's super exciting. And so before this, you were telling me that you met last year at NFT NYC.
Yeah, so it was crazy. So that kind of really leads into my story. So I mean, I have 12 plus years of marketing ops experience. Again, very big variety of industries. I started in corporate, in hospitality and dining, and then I kind of pivoted to more supporting startups from an ops and marketing strategy level. And so Lena and I had both had our separate agencies at the time, and we're just kind of figuring out the space. Lena's been in Web3 a couple years longer than I. And I had been more of a student, so I was studying at Columbia Business, learned all about blockchain, started investing in crypto, and then from there, I realized there's a huge opportunity for brands that is really lacking. Whoa, it got too hold on. And from there, I decided if I took it to NFT New York last year, and just to learn and kind of connect and see what the space was all about. Lena and I bumped into each other at this VIP event that neither one of us had initially intended on being at. And it was just someone that we were hanging out with was like, hey, I've just one of this, come with me. And when we first met, we always joked it was love at first sight. Had a really cool 10-minute conversation and realized that we had a lot of complementary skill sets. So, at the onset, it was really more about let's try freelancing on a project together, see how we like it. And that has really led to an amazing boutique strategy flourishing agency in the space. And I have the amazing opportunity to now co-found. So I'm the operating COO and she's the CEO. But I would say we definitely manage as a team and we divide and conquer every day.
That's so sweet. I love that. Did you take blockchain courses at Columbia?
No, I didn't. I was taking business essentials, but a professor was talking about it and written a book about blockchain and how it all started. So I picked up the book and it was very technically heavy, where there was a lot of terms that I didn't really get, and I was Googling a lot. But I'm actually at USC getting my master's, and there was a class about Web3 and community, and it piqued my interest. And so I was okay, I'll register for this and see what's going on. And it was amazing because the professor did a really great job of curating the content of her class as real life events were happening. And this was when the market went from bullish to bearish. And so it was really cool to see that transition and really learn what the space was evolving into.
That's awesome. We just put out a YouTube video. We just put out a YouTube video about the best universities in the US to learn about blockchain and crypto. And I'm pretty sure Columbia was on that. This is when I go like this, and the video pops up on the screen to point you back to that video. But we're doing that around the world. So we just posted that YouTube video, which covered the top universities in the US. We have another video coming out. We have a content creator in India, and she's covering all of the universities there. We have a LATAM creator that's covering the universities in LATAM. So it's really cool to see some of these traditional universities talking about Web3, even if it's just blockchain applications, and introducing students to the idea of hey, if you use blockchain in X, these are the things that you can do. And so even 3 weeks ago, we were at IWE in DC, and I brought on a professor from American University who's teaching a blockchain applications course, and he was super excited just to be able to introduce the concept to students. And some of the students were there and asking questions, and we were hosting a job fair. So it was then cool to then show them the types of job opportunities from that course that they can potentially interview for and eventually land. So
I would say like it's one of my personal goals to eventually go back and teach, because a lot of the professors that are teaching still don't have Web3 experience, and like living and breathing in the space for almost a year now, I've really just evolved just in my technical skills alone, but also just in understanding like what the potential of this technology can do for the world and how it can make it a better place. So I think there's still a huge opportunity to educate people. A lot of times even people out of school that are looking for a career shift never realize that there's so much opportunity in the Web3 space.
Yeah, there's a ton.
Pending right now, I mean, we might work with the Department of Education in New York to possibly speak with high school students. So we'll see this summer, but I'm really excited to kick that off for ZEITG3IST.
I actually just saw a job posting from NewYork.gov because I know they're staffing up for their Web3 arm or division. We see those job listings come in every day, so it's very interesting to see the governments coming in and posting those roles. I have to find that role and I'll plug it into the description below, because I've seen a few over the past like 6 months or so from New York specifically.
That's amazing. That's good to know.
Yeah, so our community is made up of job seekers in the Web3 space, so I'm sure they're super curious. One, tips and tricks to finding the perfect co-founder. And then two, I'm sure they'd love to know a little bit more about your team and the recent round of hiring that you did.
Yeah, so I'd say ZEITG3IST started originally as a solopreneurship and freelancing gig, and it's blossomed into an amazing boutique strategy. We have a global team now all across the world working at hours in the Philippines, in the United States, in Nigeria. We have someone who's about to move from Indonesia to New York as well, and we have a lot of really exciting things ahead. But from a co-founder perspective, like my background is more so on the consulting side of the marketing space and also as social media. And I met Victoria, and she told me her operational experience, which I struggled with, personally speaking, just because like I was, prior to this, working at Meta, I was consulting on the side, and I was just doing it by myself, but I never learned how to properly manage a team. And when I met her, it was kind of like a yin meets yang moment, east meets west, and it was just like she said, love at first sight. And we worked with on the NFL rivals together, 5 Mythical Games, as an introductory client. And then after that, we've just really hit the ground running. So we've had the privilege to work with some household names like deadmau5's Pixel Links, which we're currently working with, as well as Game 7, the $100 million DAO, and a lot of different NFT projects in the music, fashion, and so forth spaces. So we're really excited to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I just want to like tag on to that. So when you think about like a co-founding team, like you don't want to be the same. And I think that's what's really cool about us. Even our time zones for a long time weren't the same. I was based in Orange County, California, and Lena was out here. And so, New York, just in case you're wondering. And what's really important is finding a team where you can fill in the roles holistically. Like we're still a startup, we're still small. We bootstrap everything. We're very mindful of costs, and a lot of our clients are starting up in the space as well. So we always tell people we treat your business like it's ours, and we really are very diligent with every decision that we make. We're really intentional with the people that we hire, because for us, at the end of the day, it's really about like coaching and helping them grow in their career. And I always tell people, like, when you work with us, we know it's not forever, but we want you to be the best that you can be. We want you to contribute here, and every role is really important. So to kind of like lead into that, yes, I've had tremendous amount of years leading hundreds of people. So I think when I really learned how to do that as a young leader, it was really hard, because you deal with every personality out there, and not just from like a client perspective, but now you're dealing with an internal team where I think like as a leader, I've really learned how to let things go and understand that everyone works differently, and it can't be only my way. It's more, right? Like
that's a record for her.
Right? Like every leader has their way, and I would say like I absolutely have my way too. But one thing that I've learned, and something that I do my best to like lead by example every day, is it's not about the road that you take, it's about the end result. And did you get there? And did you get there on time and safely? And did you do your best? And when you don't do your best, as leaders, especially like in our company culture, because we've experienced a lot in our careers already, and I think everyone listening to this has definitely had a lot of moments where they haven't had the best manager or the best leader, or they haven't been empowered to do their best job, or they've made mistakes and then they get in quote unquote trouble. It's never about getting in trouble, and I always tell my team that it's more about like, hey, let's talk. Like, what could we have done better? How can we learn from this, and how can you not make this mistake again?
On both sides.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. And I think because we are still small, we have the opportunity to really make it. I always say, like, we're not a corporate ladder. Like, we're a team, we're a circle. Like, everyone plays a specific role based on their current skill set. But at the same time, like, feedback goes both ways. If I did something that upset you as your supervisor, I need to know, because if I don't know, I can be better, right? So we have a lot of conversations, even amongst one another, of we coach each other every day, and we expect our team to also coach us. Hey, I didn't like the way that you gave me that brief. It was too ambiguous. I didn't understand, and so when I delivered you the work, I just felt like I put a lot of time into it, and I didn't give you what you wanted, and you weren't clear enough. And that really makes me think, okay, how can I, especially when you work with a global team, you don't have this one-on-one interaction. Like, I can't play Jenga with my team. I really wish I could, but I can't, right? So it's always about how can we build that relationship of trust and transparency and open-ended conversations. And I think it really starts as a leader with asking a lot of questions to understand the behavior and why it's occurring, and then understanding okay, there's a problem, here's the solution, moving forward, here's what we're gonna change. And we have those constantly, every day, all day long.
Sounds like a healthy team.
Yeah, and we try to create a culture of continuous learning and radical transparency, like Victoria said. And I mean, we operate like a circle, and we have some people with 15 plus years of experience on the team. We have some people with just a few years of experience, and we all are equally learning every day in the space, because, as you know, there's the only constant is change in Web3. So yeah.
Whose turn? Was it mine?
Yours.
Oh, it's mine?
All good.
So you went through a round of hiring.
Yes.
Walk me through that process. So did you knew exactly who you were hiring for when you went out to post? It wasn't like a general call to action, anybody submit their resumes?
No. So we currently, again, we're really small, and we're very intentional. I don't want to just hire someone and then, not have enough scope and then go from 30 hours a week to 5. Because we work with 1099 contractors.
Mm-hmm.
We're still a contract-based employer. We haven't grown to a point where we're able to W-2 everyone, right? And so with that being said, we're very careful on making sure that we have someone that has that was intense. And it's so hard to talk and play this at the same time. Ooh, I feel like, okay, yeah, I got this. So I would say for us, when we think about bringing someone on, we look to see first, where are we struggling as founders? Where do we need help? Because it also starts from the top. As we've been growing steadily, we're taking on more clients. We're saying yes to a lot more, but we can't do more, right? We only have a certain amount of hours in a day, and something that we very much practice what we preach is a really good, healthy work-life balance. So we're really considerate. We try to set boundaries, not just for our team, but also for one another, and support one another of hey, this is a healthy work day. We both are very good at being aware of, hey, we're pushing too much time. How can we delegate some work? How can we ask for help? Things like that. So just we're not burning out and performing less and giving out less quality work. So when we looked at this time, it was, where are we struggling? Where do we need help? What services are we offering as an agency, and what type of talents do we need? So we look at your hard skills, right? We're looking at, for example, social media. Do you have experience in it? I personally, if you're applying for a social media role, the first thing I will do is I'll go look at your social media, right? I want to see how innately creative are you. I want to see, do you have a natural artistic eye? Am I going to have to coach you on color theory and spacing and font hierarchy? Because if I do, I really don't have the time to do that, right? I'm so busy every day. I would rather have someone that comes in with that skill set and maybe doesn't know how to apply it to a marketing Web3 strategy and teach them that than to teach them fundamentals. So we always want people who have a really strong fundamental skill set, but we also want people who are willing to adapt. So a lot of the questions that we ask in interviews are more of how do you solve problems? I think as an agency and as a startup ourselves, working with so many startups, there's a lot of times where clients will give us things to do and not even realize that what they exactly want. So it's up to us to play this guessing game where it's very educated decision making, but it's a lot of like, how do I figure this out with minimal handholding? So whether it's like Google is my best friend, even as a founder, and like Lena and I Google every day. There's so many things we don't know, right? So I always tell my team, if you're asking me a question and you haven't Googled it, please don't ask me. I'm so happy to help you, but I want to know that you've done everything possible to figure it out. I don't like being asked questions just to reassure you that you feel like you're doing good or you're scared to make a mistake, because you're going to make a mistake. It's going to happen. I'm not going to yell at you. We're just going to try to fix it and make it better, right? But it's really about like, how innovative are you? Do you have an entrepreneurial spirit? Are you a good communicator? Do you have a good attitude? Right? Like sometimes when people get stressed, you know, there's like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation that comes out. And for us, we're really focused on building a quality team and a quality culture. So, you know, if someone's going to lash out in anger or when they're upset or stressed, then that's probably not the person that I want on the team. So we definitely do vet them. We definitely look at references. If you're recommended by someone that we trust, we definitely pay a closer eye and attention to your resume over someone that we're just getting a blind submission for. Because I also ask people, like, why are you really looking for a job? How was your previous experience? Did you leave? Or did your employer ask you to leave? How long has the job break been? What are you doing to educate yourself with? What do you do in your spare time? Because a lot of, like Lena mentioned earlier, we really believe in like personal growth. What are you doing? What are your goals? How can I help you get there? Because I don't want anyone on the Zeitgeist team to be stagnant. Because I'm not stagnant. I'm always growing. So for Zeitgeist to grow, we need people that also are growth-minded, and that's something that we really pay attention to.
And not only that, with the times. I mean, Zeitgeist means, for those that don't know, with the times, and for us, for us specifically speaking, I mean, you have to care about culture, and you have to care. You don't have to be into Web3. Obviously, Web3 is this new idea that is still so many people are trying to wrap their heads around, and obviously it takes, you know, quite a bit of time to understand the space holistically, but we care less that people understand the space really, but we care that they really are with culture. They want to understand trends better. They want to understand subcultures better, because every client and every ask every day is a completely new day, and it's a completely new strategy to wrap our heads around. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think for the job seekers that are listening to this, their question is most likely, what's the number one skill you look for in an applicant? So let's say you're looking at two equal applicants, both came, let's say, one from a reference, one from a random job board that you posted on. They're both social media. They both have very similar resumes. What's that one skill you're looking for that you'd say, yes, this is that person?
For her.
I want to see if you're a problem solver.
How do you do that?
I ask a lot of questions about, tell me about a time that you failed. What did you do about it? Tell me about the hardest piece of feedback that you've ever gotten from a supervisor. What did you do about it? How did you take that? How did it feel? Like, because people, after a while, you get talking, like, and Lena knows this, like, we have our set of interview questions, but as we have a conversation, like, I really want to get to know the person. So if you're sharing a piece of information or telling me a story, I may ask follow-up questions. So I like to dig through a lot of, like, oh, well, like, why did you think that? Or, like, why did you dig in? Like, I dig really deep. I ask a lot of, like, tell me more questions, because I want to get to the root of, like, how do you think about problems? How do you think through situations? Because at the end of the day, problem solving also comes with having a great attitude about it. Like, if you're not an optimistic person, it's very difficult to face a challenge and be able to, like, climb that uphill battle. It's all a mental game. You have to play with your mind and tell yourself, like, I can do it, and sometimes that's hard. So, like, getting people who, like, really open up and, like, tell me the truth is really important. And I think, like, I've educated myself a lot, and I do my best to continue to read. Like, I read a lot of, like, psychology books. I read a lot of, like, body language books. I read a lot of, like, why do people behave this way? Because when you tell me a story, having that background as an interviewer of, like, human psychology and behavior really helps me piece together very quickly, like, when are you lying to me? too. Like, okay, what's like really the question?
Again, that struck a chord.
Yeah, right? Like, I can tell right away. And like, Lena always is like, how do you know? Like, when you interview people,
Hundreds of people.
Hundreds of people. So just for context, I was a district manager. I operated millions of dollars in revenue. I had over 600 employees for a quick service restaurant brand, actually, Panda Express, if anyone's wondering. I love Panda too, and I love it. And I still have the best relationship with a lot of my leadership team from there and a lot of like my old teammates. And it was really because it's a great place and it's a great company culture. So if you're not looking for a job at Web3, maybe that's something up your alley. But back to the conversation, it's one of those like, and I remember being like a young leader. I had just gotten promoted, and I was working with my regional director, and I was like, how do you know? Because I was blown away by that. And he's like, you know what? When you meet so many people every day, when you talk to people every day, people, you know, the character archetypes in books are there for a reason, right? Like people fall into archetypes, and once you learn to identify key behaviors, you will learn very quickly how to assess the situation and assess a person.
Did you see a lot of fraud in the food certs?
No, because we conducted them ourselves back then.
Gotcha. Is that normal to do?
Yes. I don't know. I mean, I've only really worked there. I worked there for 7 years.
Okay.
So they have a very particular way of doing things.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to be anything fraud.
Yeah.
They are very much by the book.
Yeah. So, and I'm guessing then you would proctor the exam.
Yes, so we would have like proctors that we would trust to facilitate those, and a few of like the higher level leadership in the ops team would actually go take the proctor test or have a proctor and then conduct it themselves to make sure that people not just are learning like the fundamental food safety knowledge, but they're also learning how Panda conducts food safety, because actually a lot of people don't know Panda is one of like the best places and cleanest places to eat, and they have like a black pearl in food safety. They're very strict on everything.
Wow. So when I'm just curious.
Yeah, I didn't need to go there, but like she asked me.
No. Yeah. Well, I'm just curious because like within the food space, for instance, versus Web3, you have to have a food cert in order to be able to work. Like that is like fundamentally the one thing in order to work at Panda or any kind of food. And that is not the same for Web3. There's not one certain skill. I've talked to a ton of people that are hiring, and usually it's when I ask them the question of like, what's that one skill? They say open-mindedness, curiosity, passion, and these are like such soft skills that like, as for instance, Metaintro, if we give a job seeker a badge and we say, you know, it's curiosity or whatever, is that the one thing that's going to unlock that individual for that job? Versus like in the food industry, if we give somebody a food cert that's on chain, we know for a fact that gets them one step closer to landing the job because they have to have it. And so asking these questions are always really interesting to me because there isn't that one skill yet, or who knows ever, in Web3 that unlocks that opportunity for a job seeker. And so people are always asking me like, what's that one skill? What's that one thing as a job seeker I can have on my resume or as a cert that will get me to that next phase? And in Web3, it's a lot of soft skills.
It absolutely is. But something like fun fact about like food industry jobs, like if you come in and think about being a first-time employee, you don't have that food cert. So sometimes you'll get hired and they'll tell you, okay, before your first day, you need to have this because they really are still looking for soft skills, right? Like they want to retain employees, they want to help them grow. So I always say, like as an interviewer, we all tend to lean into those soft skills first because it really shows the type of people, and you know, every employer wants that quality employee.
Yeah.
Come and stay and grow.
Yeah. And last question just on that because I haven't had an opportunity to talk to somebody that's been in that space. So when an individual job seeker gets that food cert, and let's say they leave from Panda, they take that with them to the next job, correct?
Yeah, so every state has their own like food certification, food handler criteria. So it just depends on like where you live. But it goes on forever. I think I had mine for like a year after I left because I mean I didn't have to use it, but it's just one of those things that you have, you do, and it expires every 2 or 3 years.
Okay, gotcha. Very interesting. Different world of recruiting. But anyways, as we're nearing our time, I think it's your turn.
It probably is because I'm talking. It's so hard to focus on these things.
Sometimes for companies that come in, playing this game allows us to ask like deep, juicy questions because they're distracted. So we've gotten some real truthful answers out of this show. Just
watching.
I wish we could do this on NFT NYC stage. So.
I know. Well, we'll be doing this at Consensus.
Oh, fun. I'll be there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd love to see you.
Well, yeah, come on down. We'll be in the press room, so I'm really excited. They were excited about this.
It's getting juicy.
I
Just the good stuff.
So you're here at NFT NYC. What's the goal?
I would say, at least when we talk about it, and this, I don't know if everyone does this, but we have a meeting before we go to any conference, and we ask ourselves our goals. So that's a great question. So one is our goal is to meet a minimum of 50 new people, and like we record that, we have like their contact info, and then we follow up with them and see how we can serve them, whether that's with our current core offerings, or even if it's just being able to introduce them to someone else, or just being in their little black book. And then for us on a personal level, at every conference we do have a lot of friends that we love to see, previous clients, current clients, strategic partners, and it's really about like maintaining and building those. So we really have a great time because it's a nice mix of both.
Yeah.
And we always say we're running a marathon, not a sprint. So it's
Yep.
conserving energy and just
Yeah.
having quality conversations like this really matter to us. So those are the two main goals.
And then on top of that, I would definitely say the learning aspect. So recently we went to Denver for the first time, which was absolutely amazing. It was our first experience seeing just the east side of things. We went to Solana Breakpoint, and that was amazing in November for the first time. And obviously FTX crashed, and those interesting times. But with that being said, we try to. What was we talking about? So for us, we really weigh our time based on percentages. We did great. And honestly, for this specific experience, we want to do 50% networking and 50% learning. So something that we're focusing on this time around is obviously attending panels, speaking to different people about the trends in the space, what we foresee in the next few years, and so forth. Because obviously, boots on the ground, that's the most hands-on experience you can get with people. And for me, like, I'm a connector at heart, and I just love meeting people. And it's just, like I said with Victoria, a meeting moment for us, because my job is to meet new people, her job is to retain, and we just kind of work together like, water and fire. So, yeah.
It works really well for conferences because even in our day-to-day roles, like Lena does a lot of like the cold outreach, she's really head of BD, and I'm head of like client relations. So even at conferences, it's a lot of like me meeting with our current clients, and can I take you to coffee or lunch or whatever it is. And then Lena's like, I just met 20 people and I got their phone numbers, and this is great. So that's really been cool, but also we had our first panel together at the conference, which I think is such a really cool full circle moment, because we did meet last year at NFT New York, and to be able to be here this year, to have the relationships, to have the clients that we have, to be able to activate 2 events while we're here, and then also speak. And then, fun fact, we found out that we were being featured in Times Square about the NASDAQ.
Yeah, it was so exciting.
It was such a dream moment. And my mom is actually here from LA helping me move to New York. So she got to see me in Times Square, which for me was pretty emotional. We sat there for like 20 minutes and ate Joe's Pizza. So it was really awesome. And we're just really grateful to be here. We're grateful for the relationships that we have with everyone in the space. We always get feedback. There are marketers, but there's not a lot of marketers that come to this. There's a really great community. And so when they see us actually coming and meeting and like understanding the space, buying NFTs, supporting platforms and projects, like it really also just levels up our knowledge and helps us stay current and helps us stay with the zeitgeist.
Well, I appreciate both of you making the time to come in and play Jenga and talk to me about what you're building. It sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. And to everybody that's watching, thank you for tuning in. You can check out all of our links below in the description, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.